So now we're on number 6. This is a good question. For me, I want to know the answer for this for me. When was the moment you realized there was a science to motorcycle riding?
The moment I realized there was science, well, I had a good, strong realization one day that the reason that some corners went better for me than other corners was that I was able to, that I had more reference points in in the good ones than I had in the bad ones. And I thought, oh, well, that's there we have a technical point. You know, you need enough reference points in a corner to become familiar with it and feel in control of it. And I was racing at the time, and the corners that I felt good in, I was fast. So and I felt in control. So I looked at it and I went, well, if there's one thing, then there must be other things, because that is actually becomes a very technical point of reference points. What are they? Where are they? You know, what are the things that you can use? What are the things that you shouldn't use as reference points? How far ahead of yourself should you be looking? It opens up a whole huge volume of questions about it, and those questions started to haunt me, and I set out to answer them. And then again, you know, as I was answering those, other questions came up, and I thought, okay, well, there are answers to these too. And so, you know, again, 41 years later, I keep on every school day I find more answers.
That's awesome.
To questions that writers come up with, and it's a really actually my job is very fulfilling, because that is what my job is, to research and discover the actual technology of writing and to get it out to people, to publish it either in my books or my articles, or best of all, getting them to come to school and take advantage of what we've learned over all these decades.
Right. No, I can totally see that. And hearing how you described how you figured out there was a science, like the light bulb clicked for me. It's like, oh, that made complete sense, because there is corners that I am better at than others. Well, there is. It's like I'm decent, believe it or not. I'm decent at a double apex.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm okay at that. Like it's not. I'm by no means does it freak me out. I know that I stop rolling on the throttle and then turn, then roll back on, and totally okay with a double apex turn. I'm totally fine with it, especially the ones that I can actually see through. Because where I live, there's a double apex turn on my freeway I take to work a lot, and I can see the whole corner, and I'm actually pretty decent. You know what I mean? So there's corners that I could totally get it. There's corners that I'm good at, and there's some that, you know, I manage. But it's not as good as it could be, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah. I started getting onto it actually from something I read from Ron Hubbard. I read it was one of something he wrote that I happened to pick up, and an axiom, a self-evident truth.
Yeah.
That was part of, you know, whatever that's the stuff that he was writing about. And he wrote a lot of stuff, but there's a very simple one, and that space is a viewpoint of dimension. And I started thinking about that, and I haven't stopped thinking about that for the last 41 years, because every time I think about it, I just nearly every time I think about it, that idea of space being a viewpoint of dimension, you realize that, you know, you're in control of space, and that you have to have a viewpoint. You have to establish yourself in that space, and that means you have to establish other things in that space so that you can figure out where you are, and on and on and on. I've had so many realizations from that little piece, you know, those 7 words or whatever it is.
That's amazing.
That it's been kind of one of my really strong go-to things. If I get bored, I go, okay, space is viewpoint and dimension. What else can I figure out with that?
Right. So that little line right there, that's 7, 8 words or 6 words or 7 words. I haven't done the count, but led you down to this rabbit hole, and it created this whole writing technology.
That's right.
That's incredible.
That's right. That is the truth. That is true. That's a true statement.
That is incredible. That is so incredible that just, I mean, because like any activity, you're going to have people that have like opinions, myths, whatever. I mean, I've done a lot of activities in my life, and there's things that you've said in Twist 2 that I still use in other activities because of like nothing, bikes don't do it once every 4 laps. And when you said that in the Twist 2 book, and it was actually in the DVD and on your lecture, I mean, on your audiobook, because I have that too, it helps me in multiple things, like archery. Like I'm an archer and I do tournament archery and I do league nights and I'm a competitive archer. And I know that if one of my arrows is off, or a couple of my arrows is off, but the other ones are on, it's not the bow, it's me. But if they're all off, I know that my sight's wrong or something's wrong or I'm holding the bow different, right? But if
Uh-huh.
one arrow is off, or, you know what I mean, I know that that was a bad shot. You know what I mean? So based on what you just said in that twist book, I apply it to other things because I know where, it's based on consistency and it helps me not like, because most guys would start adjusting their sight and tinkering with things, but you shouldn't do that because there's no reason to. You made a mistake, and it allows me to recognize when I made a self error versus if the equipment's bad. Same
Good.
thing with a motorcycle. I mean, if the motorcycle's doing it every lap, then the motorcycle's wrong. But if you're doing it once every few laps, then you're doing something wrong.
That will save you a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really funny. Okay, so we're going to question number 7. I read in your biography that you're still discovering new writing tech, and how do you feel when you make a new discovery?
Oh, I feel fantastic. It really is kind of the thing that I live for these days. Going to the schools, and my job at the schools is what's called level 4 consultant. And so the guys who've been through our previous 3 levels, we provide a consultant so that we do one-on-one at the end of each ride. At school, at the end of each ride, the student has a consultation with the coach. The coach talks about what they did and how they did it and sets a new target for accomplishment for the next ride. And then I get these guys myself and see what the coach had to say and take a look at it, find out if there's some different way to approach it so that this particular person will have a smooth run to improving the problem he was having or to increase their ability in something that they were doing right to make it even better. So these things are great for me. It's fantastic, and it really it's never ending. There's just I don't think there's a new set of exercises or drills, you might call them.
You used the word axioms.
And
So,
well, there's everybody isn't so different that you need 7.2 billion different answers for the same question. But there are enough variations on each technical point on riding a motorcycle, so that if you can't hit it with from 2 or 3 or 4, even 5 or 6 different angles, sometimes you might not get the right one for that individual. So that's been my job, my passion here for the last about 3 years, and it's working out really well. We've developed actually over 200 exercises.
because the last time I heard in an interview, you said about one, was it like 90 or 100 and something? So you just keep,
Yeah, well, as I said, it increases almost every school day
okay,
because I see a different problem or a different way to approach a problem that the
right.
writer's thing. And so it's, I guess, by the end of this year, there won't be just 200, maybe there'll be 300. I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So all that does is allow you to give you different ways to help a writer so they can understand it or they can use it So these other extra techniques is just ways for to help dial in an individual writer. That's what I'm gathering from what you said.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
What does this writer need? What's the thing? I we call them undercuts at the school, and the undercut means that we take the guy's making a mistake with a technical skill, but so what's happening before that? What's happening underneath that that's creating that problem? Or in the case of something he's doing well, we're able to give him more information on why he's doing it well, and then what's the next step up past that to do even better at it. So that's kind of the range of where these all these small breakdowns of the understanding of the technical skills of writing comes from, and it's great for me. I just love it.
That sounds awesome. It really does. It sounds like it's so tailor made for you. Like it's not a cookie cutter, just get on the gas earlier. It seems like it's just like, all right, Mister Dan, you got to do this because and then figuring out what works for you, and that's just amazing that you're able to do that and pinpoint and break it down for writers so they have that level of understanding when they get done. That's incredible.
I love it. I just love it, and you know, um, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it one day. One day, I'm looking
Great.
forward to it. You can break it down and tell me what I'm doing right and wrong. All right, so I think that question's good. So we're going to go on question 8.